Alrighty, hello guys. Today we're going to be watching something a little bit different. We're going to be watching one of those analog horror PSAs because I haven't really watched one in a while. And I was like, you know what? I thought I'd give one a try. And I found one that's not too long. Usually these are an hour long. So, but we got, if your neighbor's lights stay on all night, close your blinds. So, we're going to go ahead and do that. Everything, of course, will be linked in the description. So, let's get straight into it. Man.
This message is issued by the Emergency Coordination Center.
Ooh.
Please listen closely and follow the instructions that follow. This
Okay.
is not a drill. We are issuing this emergency broadcast regarding unusual residential lighting patterns observed across multiple neighborhoods in the Tri-County area
Okay,
over the
maybe.
past 18 days.
Alright.
If your neighbor's house lights remain on continuously for
Mm-hmm.
72 hours or more, do not attempt to make contact and follow the safety protocols outlined in this message immediately.
Alrighty guys, let's learn about the safety protocols.
The situation began on October 29th when our dispatch centers started receiving welfare check requests from concerned residents reporting
Okay.
neighbors whose houses had remained fully illuminated for extended periods.
I guess, you know.
Initially, these reports appeared to be routine requests for wellness checks on elderly residents.
Oh, okay.
However, the pattern that has emerged indicates a coordinated phenomenon affecting 43 confirmed households across 7 municipalities.
Okay.
The first documented incident occurred at 1247 Maple Street, when Margaret Thompson contacted police on November 2nd regarding her neighbor, David Henley, age 67. Mrs. Thompson reported that every light in Mr. Henley's two-story colonial home had been on continuously
Oh.
since October 30th,
Oh.
including exterior floodlights, porch lights, and every interior room.
Yeah, I guess
She
you
had
would be
not seen
concerned.
Mr. Henley leave the house or collect his mail during this period.
Oh, okay.
Officer Patricia Rodriguez responded to the welfare check at 3:47 p.m. on November 2nd.
So it's kind of like in
The
that light
report
outside.
describes approaching the Henley residence and observing that all visible windows were brightly illuminated, with curtains and blinds fully opened.
Hmm.
Officer Rodriguez could see into multiple rooms from the street, including what appeared to be normal household activities. She observed a figure moving between rooms on the ground floor, turning on additional lights that were not already illuminated.
Hmm.
When Officer Rodriguez knocked on the front door, she reported hearing immediate movement inside the house. Footsteps moved rapidly between rooms, and she observed shadows passing quickly behind the illuminated windows. However, Mr. Henley did not respond to repeated knocking or verbal identification of police presence. The figure inside continued moving between rooms, systematically checking that all lights remained on. Officer Rodriguez contacted Mr. Henley's adult daughter, Karen Henley Walsh, who arrived at the scene 45 minutes later with a spare key.
Okay.
When they entered the house through the front door, they found Mr. Henley standing in the center of the living room. He was fully dressed in clean clothes and appeared physically unharmed, but his behavior was immediately concerning. Mr. Henley was systematically looking at each light fixture in the room, counting them repeatedly under his breath. When approached, he would only say, "They need to stay on. They all need to stay on." Ms. Henley Walsh attempted to speak with her father, asking about his health, and why he had not answered the door. Mr. Henley responded by walking to each window in the room and adjusting the curtains to ensure they were completely open.
Hmm.
He then checked each light switch, flipping lights off and immediately back on, as if testing their function. His movements were deliberate but repetitive, following the same pattern in each room. Emergency medical services arrived at 4:23 p.m. to evaluate Mr. Henley's condition. Paramedic James Morrison reported that Mr. Henley's vital signs were normal, and he showed no obvious signs of illness or injury.
Alright, so what's happening so far, I guess, like this guy, old man, is like making sure the lights are on and all the blinds are open. So I don't know. I mean, maybe he has like some type of disorder or something that's making him do it. Because as of right now, yeah, and that's pretty much what it seems like. If he's all physically well and all that stuff, it just could be a disorder or something. You know, I mean, he's old. You know, he's up there. He's in the 60s, so maybe he just has a he just wants something. I don't know. Maybe something. You know, maybe something happened in the past and it's coming out now as he's older. So maybe I don't know.
However, Mr. Henley became agitated when paramedics suggested dimming the lights in the living room to check his pupil response. He repeatedly stated that the lights needed to remain
Hmm.
on because they are watching to see if I understand. When asked who was watching, Mr. Henley walked to the front window and pointed across the street. The responding officers looked in the indicated direction but saw only the normal suburban streetscape. Mr. Henley insisted that Mrs. Thompson's house was doing it wrong and that she didn't understand the signal yet. The medical evaluation determined that Mr. Henley was not an immediate danger to himself or others. However, Miss Henley Walsh chose to remain with her father overnight. She
Oh.
reported that Mr. Henley spent the entire night moving between rooms, checking light switches, and adjusting curtains. He would pause at each window for several minutes, appearing to study the houses across the street and making notes on a legal pad. The following morning, Miss Henley Walsh discovered that Mr. Henley had drawn detailed diagrams of the neighborhood, marking each house with symbols indicating their lighting patterns. Houses that maintained normal lighting schedules were marked with red X symbols. Houses that kept more lights on than usual were marked with yellow circles.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Henley's house was marked with a green checkmark and labeled compliant. 3 days later, Mrs. Thompson called police again. This time, she reported that 2 additional houses on Maple Street had begun maintaining continuous lighting.
Okay.
The Patterson house at 1253 Maple Street and the Rodriguez house at 1261 Maple Street now showed the same pattern as Mr. Henley's residence. Every interior and exterior light was illuminated, curtains were open, and figures could be observed moving between rooms. Officer Rodriguez returned to investigate the reports on November 6th. She confirmed that the Patterson and Rodriguez households now displayed identical lighting patterns to the Henley residence. When Officer Rodriguez approached the Patterson house, she could see through the windows that someone was systematically checking each light fixture, following the same repetitive pattern observed at the Henley residence. At the Rodriguez house, she found Elena Rodriguez, age 43, performing identical behaviors. Mrs. Rodriguez was walking between rooms, testing light switches, and adjusting window coverings to ensure maximum visibility. When Officer Rodriguez knocked on the door, Mrs. Rodriguez approached the window instead and pointed to a clipboard she was holding. The clipboard contained the same type of neighborhood diagram found at the Henley residence, with houses marked according to their lighting compliance.
Mm.
Mrs. Rodriguez spoke through the window, stating that she could not turn off the lights because the watchers need to see that we understand the importance of
Who
illumination.
is the Watchers,
She
though?
indicated that residents who maintained proper lighting would be marked as compliant, and that those who failed to maintain adequate illumination would require correction. When asked who the watchers were, Mrs. Rodriguez pointed to various houses throughout the neighborhood. The phenomenon escalated significantly over the following week. By November 13th, 17 houses across 4 different neighborhoods were maintaining continuous illumination. The affected residences showed identical behavioral patterns, with occupants systematically checking lights, maintaining open window coverings, and creating detailed maps of surrounding properties marked for lighting
But how does it
compliance.
spread? Oh, sorry, but so like how I wonder if they're gonna. I know they're gonna get to it, but like I'm just trying to think. I'm like, how is it that it spreads? You know, how does it so then like one person knows to start doing this? Well, I don't know if they know to start doing it. More like they start to either see something, hear something, or like something happens in which they start doing it too. I kind of no. I think maybe it's like the Watchers or whatnot. And based off what the title is called, maybe if you see it happen, you'll get in like that trance. You'll become in like in a trance in which you want to do it too, and like something like that. I feel like that's probably how it happens, but I could be wrong.
Emergency services conducted welfare checks on all affected households and found similar conditions in each case. Occupants were physically healthy but exhibited obsessive behaviors related to maintaining illumination and monitoring neighborhood lighting patterns. All affected individuals expressed concern about watchers who were evaluating their compliance with unspecified lighting requirements. Dr. Sarah Chen, a psychiatrist consulted by emergency services, evaluated 12 affected individuals on November 14th. Her report indicates that all subjects showed similar delusion patterns focused on surveillance and lighting requirements. However, the subjects showed no other signs of mental illness, drug intoxication, or neurological impairment. Dr. Chen noted that the uniformity of the delusions across unrelated individuals was highly unusual and concerning. Most disturbing was Dr. Chen's observation that affected individuals possessed detailed knowledge of their neighbors' daily routines and lighting habits. Subject interviews revealed that they had been conducting systematic surveillance of surrounding properties, noting patterns of light usage, occupancy schedules, and behavioral routines. This surveillance had been conducted continuously since the onset of their lighting behaviors. The geographic pattern of affected households suggested a spreading phenomenon. Initial cases were concentrated on Maple Street, but by November 15th, cases had appeared on surrounding streets following a radial pattern. Properties directly adjacent to affected households showed a 73% likelihood of developing the same lighting behaviors within 48 to 72 hours of exposure to continuous illumination from neighboring properties.
Okay.
Mrs. Patricia Wells of 1248 Oak Street, located directly across from an affected household, reported on November 16th that she had been feeling increasingly uncomfortable in her home during evening hours. Mrs. Wells stated that she felt watched constantly and had begun keeping additional lights on for security purposes. Within 24 hours, Mrs. Wells was maintaining the same continuous lighting pattern observed in other affected households. Environmental Health Services investigated potential causes for the phenomenon, including water contamination, air quality issues, and electromagnetic interference. Testing of affected properties revealed no unusual environmental factors. Power consumption records confirmed that affected households were using 400 to 600% more electricity than normal, but the power grid showed no abnormalities that might explain the behavioral changes. Digital forensics revealed that none of the affected residents had coordinated their behaviors through traditional communication channels. Phone records, email accounts, and social media showed no unusual contact patterns between affected households prior to the onset of behaviors. However, investigators discovered that affected individuals had all been conducting extensive online research about home security, neighborhood watch programs, and surveillance techniques simultaneously across multiple households. Dr. Michael Torres, a behavioral psychologist specializing in mass phenomena, joined the investigation on November 18th. Dr. Torres conducted interviews with affected individuals and observed their behavioral patterns during daylight and nighttime hours. His preliminary report describes the behaviors as highly coordinated despite apparent lack of communication and suggests the possibility of environmental triggers affecting multiple individuals simultaneously. Dr. Torres noted that affected individuals became significantly more agitated during periods when neighboring houses reduced their lighting levels. When unaffected households turned off lights for normal nighttime routines, affected individuals would increase their surveillance activities and express concern about compliance failures in the neighborhood. The situation reached a critical point on November 19th when the first incident of direct intervention occurred. Robert Kim of 1255. Pine Street had been maintaining continuous lighting for 6 days when he approached his neighbor, elderly Mrs. Foster, to discuss her inadequate lighting compliance. Mr. Kim knocked on Mrs. Foster's door at 11:47 p.m., carrying a clipboard with neighborhood lighting diagrams and a list of required improvements for her property. Mrs. Foster, age 78, contacted police when Mr. Kim refused to leave her porch and continued explaining the importance of maintaining proper illumination levels. Officer Lisa Martinez responded and found Mr. Kim standing on Mrs. Foster's front porch, pointing to various lights on her house and explaining why each needed to remain on throughout the night. Mr. Kim stated that Mrs. Foster's house was creating a dark spot that interferes with proper observation protocols. When Officer Martinez asked Mr. Kim to return to his own property, He became agitated and stated that compliance correction was necessary to maintain neighborhood safety. Mr. Kim produced a detailed chart showing the optimal lighting configuration for Mrs. Foster's house, including specific wattage requirements for each room and exterior area. He insisted that Mrs. Foster needed to understand the watcher's requirements to avoid negative evaluation. Following the Kim incident, emergency services developed new protocols for addressing the lighting phenomenon. Affected individuals were not considered dangerous, but their insistence on compliance correction for neighboring properties created public safety concerns. A specialized response team was established to monitor affected households and prevent direct intervention attempts. The phenomenon continued expanding throughout the week of November 19th. Affected households now numbered 31 across 6 neighborhoods, with new cases appearing daily. The pattern suggested that direct visual contact with continuously illuminated properties increased the likelihood of developing similar behaviors.
Okay, so yeah, it is kind of what I said. Or like, if they keep seeing it, they'll become like not in a trance. So I guess what, because like how the one lady was talking about, I forgot her name. Um, like how she gained it. She said that she felt like someone was watching her, so she needed lights on, and that's what they call the watchers, I guess, in which they feel like someone is watching them, and to have security, like have like a bar, like have a higher level of security, they need to have all the lights on as, or just like as much light as possible, so then they'll always know. I guess if they're in danger or something, I'm not quite sure what they're completely afraid of, but yeah.
Properties with clear sight lines to affected households showed significantly higher conversion rates than those with blocked views. More concerning was the discovery that affected individuals were beginning to coordinate their activities despite having no apparent means of communication. On November 21st, multiple affected households simultaneously began modifying their exterior lighting to create specific patterns visible from aerial views. These modifications included arranging outdoor lights to form geometric shapes and using different colored bulbs to create coded displays. Aerial photography conducted on November 22nd revealed that affected households had created a network of light patterns that formed interconnected geometric shapes when viewed from above. The patterns appeared to be deliberately designed for visibility from aircraft or satellite observation. Affected individuals, when questioned about these modifications, stated that the watchers require clear identification of compliant properties from elevated observation points. The light patterns created by affected households were analyzed by cryptography experts and found to contain mathematical sequences and geometric relationships. The patterns appeared to be a form of communication or identification system, suggesting that affected individuals were following sophisticated instructions despite having no apparent source for such coordination. Emergency management officials implemented new safety protocols on November 23rd. Residents living adjacent to affected properties were advised to install blackout curtains and avoid creating sight lines to continuously illuminated houses. The protocols emphasized that direct visual observation of affected properties during nighttime hours should be minimized to prevent potential contamination.
Okay.
Stage 1 indicators include residents keeping lights on for extended periods beyond normal usage patterns. You may notice neighbors leaving exterior lights on during daytime hours or maintaining interior lighting in unoccupied rooms. During this stage, avoid direct conversation about lighting habits and do not comment on changes in their illumination patterns. Stage 2 involves systematic lighting modifications and window treatment adjustments. Affected individuals will ensure that all curtains and blinds remain open, creating maximum visibility into their homes. You may observe them testing light switches repeatedly or installing additional lighting fixtures. If you observe these behaviors, minimize your own lighting during evening hours and avoid positioning yourself near windows where you might be observed. Stage 3 includes active surveillance of neighboring properties and attempts at compliance correction. Affected individuals may approach neighbors to discuss lighting requirements or express concern about inadequate illumination. Do not engage with these conversations and report any direct contact attempts to emergency services immediately. Stage 4 involves coordinated pattern creation and advanced surveillance behaviors. Affected individuals will modify their lighting to create specific geometric patterns and may attempt to recruit neighbors for compliance activities. This stage represents the highest risk for community spread of the phenomenon. If your neighbor's house shows Stage 1 indicators, install blackout curtains on all windows facing the affected property. Avoid establishing regular lighting routines that might be observed and cataloged by affected individuals. Do not approach affected properties during nighttime hours and minimize outdoor activities that might draw attention from surveillance behaviors. Create a lighting plan that appears random and unpredictable from external observation. Use timer switches to create varied lighting patterns that change daily. Avoid maintaining consistent illumination schedules that might be interpreted as compliance with the phenomenon's requirements. If affected individuals attempt direct contact regarding lighting compliance, do not engage in conversation about illumination requirements. Politely decline any suggestions for lighting modifications and immediately contact emergency services. Do not accept diagrams, charts, or instructions related to neighborhood lighting patterns. The phenomenon has now spread to 12 municipalities across 3 counties. New cases are being reported at a rate of approximately 4 to 6 households per day,
That's a lot.
with concentrations in suburban neighborhoods containing single-family homes with clear sight lines between properties. Urban areas with apartment buildings and commercial properties have shown significantly lower infection rates. Analysis of spread patterns indicates that the phenomenon moves more rapidly through communities with active neighborhood watch programs or homeowners associations. Properties where residents regularly observe and discuss neighborhood activities show higher conversion rates than areas where neighbors maintain minimal contact.
That is
Emergency
okay.
services have documented that affected individuals possess unnaturally detailed knowledge of their community's daily routines and personal habits. Interviews reveal that affected residents can describe the precise lighting schedules, vehicle movements, and occupancy patterns of homes within a 6-block radius of their properties. This level of surveillance data collection far exceeds what could be gathered through casual observation. The surveillance capabilities of affected individuals appear to be enhanced beyond normal human capacity. Multiple cases document residents accurately describing activities occurring inside neighboring homes, despite having no direct visual access to those areas. Affected individuals have demonstrated knowledge of room layouts.
What if the watchers are the people who are doing the are like the people themselves? Because if they have no knowledge, what if they're afraid that someone's watching them or not? Because that's what that one lady said. So what if their watchers are them themselves? Because how would they know? If they somehow knew what they were doing, even though they never saw them through the window. I think the watchers could be themselves. The people who are in this like trance or something that want to keep that want to keep all the lights on. I think those are the watchers. They themselves are the watchers.
Furniture arrangements, and personal belongings in homes they have never entered. Dr. Torres's latest report suggests that affected individuals may be sharing surveillance data through unknown communication methods. The consistency of information across multiple affected households indicates coordination that cannot be explained through traditional communication channels. Environmental monitoring of affected neighborhoods has detected no unusual electromagnetic signatures, radio frequency anomalies, or atmospheric disturbances that might explain the coordinated behaviors. However, multiple residents in affected areas report feeling observed during evening hours, even when no affected individuals are visible. These reports come from households that have not developed lighting behaviors but are located within the geographic spread zones. The psychological impact on unaffected residents in contaminated areas is becoming a secondary concern. Reports of anxiety, insomnia, and paranoid ideation are increasing among individuals who live near affected properties but have not developed the lighting behaviors. Mental health services report a 340% increase in requests for counseling related to surveillance fears and home security concerns. The economic impact of the phenomenon is creating additional complications. Affected households are consuming electrical power at rates that strain local grid capacity during peak hours. Utility companies report that neighborhoods with high concentrations of affected properties are approaching maximum load capacity during evening hours when all lights are maintained
Mm.
continuously.
So like, what's gonna happen for them when they can no longer pay the electricity bill because it's so high, or because they use so much energy and whatnot to get the lights to have the lights stay on and all the lights go off? Like, what are they gonna do about then? Are they just gonna like switch to like batteries or something?
Property values in affected neighborhoods have begun declining as potential buyers avoid areas with documented lighting phenomena.
Fair
Real
enough.
estate agents report that conventional buyers are reluctant to purchase homes adjacent to affected properties, while a small number of buyers specifically seek properties in contaminated areas. The motivations of buyers seeking affected neighborhoods are unknown and concerning. The investigation has expanded to include federal agencies specializing in unusual phenomena and mass behavioral events. Preliminary federal assessment confirms that the lighting phenomenon represents a unique occurrence with no documented precedent in behavioral psychology or public health records. Satellite imagery analysis reveals that affected neighborhoods create distinctive patterns visible from orbital observation platforms. The coordinated lighting
Looks
displays
like a
form
K.
geometric shapes that remain consistent across different communities,
Bar shapes, yeah.
suggesting unified design principles that affected individuals implement without apparent
Mm.
coordination. Most disturbing is the discovery that similar lighting patterns have been detected in historical satellite imagery of other regions, dating back several years. Analysis of archived satellite data reveals geometric light displays in rural and suburban areas across multiple states, indicating that the phenomenon may have been developing undetected for an extended period before the current outbreak. Remember that the phenomenon appears to be spreading through visual contact with affected properties during nighttime hours. Your primary defense is eliminating sight lines between your residence and continuously illuminated houses. Maintain irregular lighting patterns that cannot be interpreted as compliance signals. Do not investigate the geometric light displays created by affected households. If you begin feeling observed during evening hours, this may indicate early exposure to the phenomenon. Increase your blackout procedures and avoid any nighttime activities that might be visible from neighboring properties. Report persistent surveillance sensations to emergency services, as early intervention may prevent full development of lighting behaviors. The investigation into this phenomenon remains ongoing, but current evidence suggests that traditional containment methods may be insufficient. The spread pattern continues to accelerate, and affected individuals show
Mm.
no signs of spontaneous recovery. The coordination mechanisms used by affected households remain unexplained, creating uncertainty about the phenomenon's ultimate scope and objectives. Federal agencies are exploring the possibility that the lighting phenomenon represents a form of preparation activity, with affected individuals
Guess that
creating
could be true.
infrastructure for unknown purposes. The geometric patterns, surveillance capabilities, and coordination methods suggest that affected communities may be implementing instructions from an unidentified source.
See, I mean,
Emergency
yeah, definitely.
services continue monitoring affected areas, but response capabilities are becoming strained as the number of affected households grows. Current protocols focus on containment and prevention rather than treatment, as no effective intervention methods have been identified for reversing the lighting behaviors once they develop. The watchers, as referenced by affected individuals, remain unidentified. No evidence has been found of external entities directing the lighting behaviors, yet the coordinated nature of the phenomenon suggests organized instruction. The identity and objectives of these watchers represent the central mystery of the current crisis. If your neighbor's lights stay on all night, close your blinds immediately. Do not observe the patterns they create. Do not attempt to understand their meaning. Do not let yourself be seen. The spreading geometry of light is marking something for identification, and families who maintain darkness may be the only ones who remain unnoticed when the evaluation begins. This emergency broadcast will repeat until further notice. Additional safety protocols will be issued as the situation develops. Remember that compliance with lighting requirements is not protection. It is preparation for something that has not yet arrived.
Hmm.
Stay in the darkness. Stay invisible. Stay human.
Wow. So that wow. So like I said, I think the Watchers when I really think that nothing's actually happening. Now, there's two possibilities. Okay, first one, there's actually not any preparation for anything. They're all delusional and they all have something wrong with them, which would make the Watchers them. They are the Watchers themselves, and they just believe that there's someone else who's trying to watch them, but in reality, it's them. It doesn't make a whole lot more. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it kind of does because they think someone's watching them, and it's them. They are the ones that are watching themselves, but they can't really grasp that. So that's why they go into this craze. But I wouldn't fully explain everything else. I wouldn't really explain how they're able to communicate and all that stuff, unless if it's like um unless if it's the option two, in which it is like an actual external thing for preparation of something. For I guess like for an add value evaluation of compliancy. I don't know what they would be evaluated on, but something like that. That would probably better help explain why everybody's experiencing the exact same thing, and are trying to do the same thing, able to work together without really talking. But yeah, that honestly was a pretty good one. I like that. Of course, that is if your neighbor's lies, if your neighbor lights, stay. Holy cow, stay on all night. Close your blinds. So yeah, that's all, guys. Holy cow. Holy cow, dude. I just wow. Oh man, this is what happens when I something. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. That'll be all. See you guys next Monday with probably another analog horror from the other person I'm watching. Foxing animations, I think, or something like that. There's something close to that. So but yeah, that'll be all. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys next Monday. Peace.